Welcome back, everyone, to Buford and the Buford Water Festival, getting ready for the Grand Parade, which will be coming up here in just a few moments. I'm meteorologist John Weatherby, joined by our Congressman, Mark Sanford. Welcome, sir.
Pleasure.
Happy weekend.
Happy weekend to you.
I'm glad you're here.
Me too. It beats D.C., believe me.
You know what? There's the opportunity, there's the temptation to talk politics, there's issues and so on and so forth. I'd much rather focus on how you're doing, how you're enjoying the festival, your impressions of the festival so far. Let's start right there. Why is the Buford Water Festival so important to us?
It's important for a number of different reasons. You know, I grew up in Buford. I graduated from high school here. So it is something of a grand reunion. I mean, you have people who you haven't seen for 20 years, 30 years, whatever the number might be. They all seem to reconvene at Water Festival. So at a community level, it's a grand reunion. It's an economic plug for this part of coastal South Carolina. And I think for the larger area, whether that includes Savannah or Bluffton or Buford, I think it's a remembrance of some of the traditions that make this part of the world special.
Very good. Yeah, the traditions, the toad fishing, the raft racing, even the air show. All those things. And people of all levels participating.
Good or bad. I was just by the dragon race.
Good or bad? I think the bad part includes me, but I know what you mean.
No, but I mean, you know, there is one of the great things about a small community is you don't have to be an expert.
Yeah.
You can be a participant, and that's what counts. You may be a great one, you may be an okay one, you may be a poor one, but you can participate. And I think that is one of the grand things that occurs in any small community, particularly here at the Water Festival.
And this is a community that certainly participates. But this 10 days of fun, despite some, I'm sorry, I apologize right now, some lousy weather, we've been actually able to get through it in a very good shape. Are there any specific events? Now, you're here for the weekend, I hope. Are there any specific events you're looking forward to seeing this weekend?
You know, since literally the time I was in high school, the blessing of the fleet and the gathering a bunch of boats out in the water has always been a big deal. And so, you know, combination of boys or nephews or some combination of we'll be out in the water.
Yep, we'll be part of
that. And you know, it's evolved over the years. You used to have boat races out here, motorboat races.
Yep.
Now it's gone into something more participatory with the dragon boat races, which I think are a lot of fun to watch.
It's really crazy out there. We'll show you that tonight at 11, I'm sure. More, though, about the community of Buford, how things are continuing to grow here across the Low Country, Bluffton, Hilton Head. Things are in a very positive mode for this part of the world.
Yeah, I mean, you could follow your way from Tybee to Skidaway Island to Savannah to Bluffton to Hilton Head, Buford. This part of the world, I was just a moment ago talking to a doctor who'd moved here from Cleveland 3 years ago because a friend of his had said he'd been actually doing a medical check on him and said, you know, you ought to look at Buford. I'm moving to Buford. The guy moves to Buford, and then he comes down and visits his buddy a couple of times, and he moves to Buford. I talked to another couple a moment ago from Tampa. I said, Tampa? That's unusual. I hear a lot from Cleveland, the Northeast, the cold Northeast or the upper Midwest, but Tampa, yeah, it's getting too crowded down there, and we like the lifestyle that you have down here. And I hear that over and over again. I was talking to a group literally come from Habersham, live at Habersham, and so there are just a whole host of coastal communities, small coastal communities that make up this area between Savannah and Buford that I think speak to what people want, which is I want to be outside most of the year. I want to be able to enjoy the water, and I want to feel like I'm part of a community, which I think is one of the blessings of this area.
That's the big part. Ladies Island, or whether you're farther, or on Lemon Island, for example, just the other area, you're always part of the community around here, and that's what makes it so special for a lot of people. Makes it that big homecoming.
Which is why I'm here for the weekend.
And we're glad you're here, too. Congressman Mark Sanford, I'm meteorologist John Weatherby. We're getting ready for the Buford Grand Parade, which will come up here in just a little bit. Let's turn our attention now to more serious issues, if we can. Talk about
no fun, but we'll do it.
Well, we'll do it briefly. How's that? But more serious issues as we're going through the summer, congressional calendar working ahead into next year. I know there's an election process to go through as well. What are some of the topics you're working and thinking right now?
It's going to be a very busy September. The end of the fiscal year is September 30th. And so if you think about the military installations in Savannah or you think about the military installations up here in Buford, September 30 is a big number.
Yeah.
And if you have a budget meltdown, which I think is what we're going to have in the month of September, there are ramifications in all areas areas of government, but particularly in that military component. So I think from a home area, as you look at the federal budget, watch what happens in September, because at this point, what they call the appropriation and authorization process, but in English it means the budgeting process, is on its way toward melting down in September. Another big thing that I think matters, given the number of military personnel in this part of the world, is what happens with that deal with Iran. It looks like it's going to go through. The international sanctions are in the process of being lifted. I think it's a bad deal. I think the bulk of Congress is going to think it's a bad deal, at least on the Republican side. But we're going to have a giant food fight, a giant debate on that one on September. And so we got a number of different hot-button issues, which is why I'm taking a break from all that and down here enjoying things like Dragon Ball.
But before you walk away from it, talk about the crowded political field, presidential field in the Republican Party, and how that's going to sort itself out. I'm not going to ask you to pick somebody. But I'm going to ask you to comment on that. Now 16 candidates are in the field. How's that going to weed itself out?
Natural selection. It's the way of nature, but it's going to be quite something to behold and watch. I mean, just this week, Donald Trump was making headlines in Mexico, but before that in Bluffton, South Carolina.
Riding Sunset,
and I think that, you're going to have a heated contest. Ultimately, I think that the debate of ideas is a good thing. At some level, the more the merrier, unless it goes into zany land, which some of the stuff is fringed on. But I think that, the reason that there's an appetite for Donald Trump is that people are so fed up with Washington, D.C. and the way in which things don't get done that they're like, wait a minute, the guy may be a little crazy, he may be a little far out there, but might he be a guy that gets things done? I don't know. We'll have a giant debate on that this fall. But what I'm saying is there's a thirst in the marketplace for somebody making things happen, and you're going to have a whole variety of different offerings on that place. It'll be a full buffet, if you want to call it.
Will our South Carolina Senator Graham be able to get into the debates? Will he be part of the process for a while?
I don't know. I know as much as you on that one, John. It's going to be interesting because they have these cutoffs right now at 10, and right now he's not at the number. We'll see what happens.
Okay. We wish him the best. We always wish you the best.
Pleasure.
Congressman Mark Sanford, glad you're with us today. Enjoy the Water Festival.
We'll do it.
I know you will. It's a grand homecoming. Our congressman is with us. We're getting ready for the Buford Grand Parade, and it's coming up here at the Water Festival in just a bit on WTOC.